Assalamualaikum. So today, my group will present about chapter 7, which is budgeting system in Malaysia. Okay. Before that, my name is Nafisa, and I would like to present about traditional budgeting system. Okay, so traditional budget system is the first budgeting system that adopted by the Malaysian government, and it's also known as the incremental budgeting or line item budgeting. Next, um, next is there are there are traditional line item which is budgeting system, which is inherited from the British upon independence, focus on detailed line item requirement of a Ministry of Government agencies. And next is federal budget is divided into three void head, which is emoluments, annually requiring charge, other charges such as special expenditure. Next is it is control is on input rather than outputs or impacts. It also reports are for compliant purposes by institution and approved costs. Next is list each of the revenue expenditure class item in vertical columns, and each line item is given the same weight, although some are more complex than another. And the lastly is future expenditures are estimated using the last year expenditure as the base. So the previous year, the formula of the calculation is like previous year spending plus cost of new project or programs plus increase in cost due to inflation. So for the advantage or drawbacks about this traditional budgeting system is first is for the advantage is first is easy to understand. Next, it easily be incorporated into the accounting system. And the third one is detailed comparison between budgeted and the actual revenue and expenditure. For the drawbacks about this traditional budgeting system is first is short term only. Next is more toward providing these frameworks of or the financial information. And lastly is focus on objective of expenditure rather than overall goal of the organization. Okay, so next I will continue with the program performance and budgeting system, which is PBS was used by majority of developing nation. Adoption of PBS was fostered by United Nations. PBS is needed because of first is increasing a modern life complexity, second increase in government service demand, third is fund shortage to meet the demand, and lastly is the need to determine priority, design program, and control budget. So for the PBPS elements is first is identify objective, which is mean setting out the purpose of organization, assistant which forms a framework for better planning. Second is program planning and structuring, which is program is a set of activity with common objective, and program planning involves the selection of the best feasible alternative to achieve objectives. And the third one is developing performance indicator, which is to evaluate financial and physical performance of the program. And for the fourth, lastly, is performance evaluation, is to assess the relevance, result, and impact of program for each agency using the program performance indicator. So for the PPBS advantage and disadvantage, which the first is the advantage column is like first is program planning and structuring will facilitate the priority of budget setting between competing programs. Next is systematic and continuous performance evaluation will provide information to the government for future planning and making decision. And PBBS also emphasize more on program, activity, and cost. Um, it's also enable the government to plan the most efficient and economic program and its objective, provide better information on management effectiveness among ministries or departments. And lastly is improve coordination between economic and financial planning. Okay. For the PPBS, disadvantages is like first goals and objective. Sorry. Goals and objectives in public sector are not clear as it deals with political, economic, and social objectives. Next, it is difficult to develop performance indicator under PPBS. And performance indicator is considered not important in resource management. Next, budget preparation approach is bottom up. Budget preparation also examination and information still focus on like items or object of expenditure. And lastly is limited power delegation or authority to make decision. So for the last one is differences between traditional system and program and performance budgeting system is like traditional budgeting system. The system is simple and easy to prepare. Next, to make a comparison between budgeted and actual expenditure or revenue data. And lastly, systematic. More systematic evaluation are lacking because they are not evaluating the performance properly. And for the program and performance budgeting system, is like the performance is tough to measure since there is many public agencies with diversity of goals, so it is not applicable to all agencies. And next is assist in public sector organization in setting budget prioritize between competitive programs or activity. And lastly is it is provide a systematic and ongoing method of performance evaluation, which is very useful for public sector agencies, governments, and managers, the manager tools. Okay, so that's all from me, and I will pass to my teammate. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tam Long. Now I will present the most defined budgeting system. Short name is the MBS. MBS is modification of PPBS. In Malaysia, introduced through Treasury Circular number 11/1988. For the process, the MBS is the input to output to impact. For the example, input is the services, output is the product, and the impact is the assessment level of the actual objective. So for the input to output, the process name is the effectiveness, and output to impact is the efficiency. For the objective is to improve forward allocation of resources to government department or program activity based on the performance, or to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of government program or activity. Elements for the PPPS is identify objective, program planning and structuring, performance evaluation, and program exposure. Of the MBS is the explanatory treasure, program agreement, and exception report. Cycle performance evaluation, a more generous approach to explanatory country. Go down. What is the explanatory treasure? This is the fixed by the treasury at the beginning of the budget process. The formula is the explanatory treasure equals to existing policy plus kurungan new policy negative allocation for assessment divided by 1 negative of kurungan plus 3% increment negative 1% efficiency dividend. Next, for the program agreement and the exception report. Program agreement is a agreement that specific the level of achievement of fund allocation for a a, for a particular program or activity. As is exception report is to identify performance indicators that are inconsistent with the treasure output or result. The extent and reason for the inconsistent performance and remedial action to be taken. I will pass the next presenter.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Syahida Sabrina and I will be explaining regarding the MBS Modified Budgeting System. So what is the cycle of program evaluation? So firstly is appropriateness. It is to measure to what extent the objective of the activity fulfilling. Secondly is effectiveness, where it measures to what extent have the objective of the activity have been achieved. Thirdly, economy. It measures to what extent can be cost of the inputs can be reduced without wastage. Fourthly, efficiency. It measures to what extent are the resources of the activity utilized optimally. So, for effectiveness is divided into three, which is pre-evaluation stage, evaluation study, and evaluation report. So, pre-evaluation stage is where we enable decision making. Evaluation study is most resource intensive stage, and lastly, evaluation report is where we get the results of the evaluations and to decide the decision making. So next is the advantages of MBS. What is the advantages of MBS? Firstly, it is central budget level, where it helps to improve identification, reduce paperwork, and allow more time. Secondly, is the departmental headquarters level, where it increase the department's opportunity, enable more top-down, and improve communication. Lastly, towards the line management level, it improve motivations among line managers, provides greater flexibility, enable financial plans. What is the drawback of MBS? Lack of trained staff, lack of top and lower level management commitment, and arguments for devaluation. Hence, that is all from me regarding the modified budgeting system. Thank you.
So, I will present about outcome-based budgeting. My name is Muhammad Iman Hakim. So, the objective of outcome-based budgeting is to improve transparency and accountability in the budgeting process, and improve the resources allocation, also enhancing the performance of management. So, the strategic template performance agreement, there is the purpose of the strategic template is to show clear alignment between MRF at ministry level and NRP at national level, also to give holistic view on integrated budgeting preparation. So the next is what is the list. The list of strategic template is the ministry executive summary, or we call it MES. Next is program performance management framework, we call it PPMF. And the last one is activity performance management framework, and we call it APMF. So the principles of designing of the outcome-based budgeting is the principles are result-based, evidence-based, flexible, effective and efficient, also participatory. The next is the implementation source of outcome-based budgeting is to set the national development priorities, what are the development that need to be prioritized. Next is developing outcome statements. Next is allocating resources, monitoring and reporting, and also review and adjustment. So the responsibilities of central agencies of outcome-based budgeting is the Economic Planning Unit, or EPU. Next is the MOF itself. Next is the Performance Management and Delivery Unit. We call it Pemandu. So the last from my part, the benefits and the challenges of outcome-based budgeting is the benefits is improved accountability, better resource allocations, more citizens engagement and participation, and also enhance the performance of the management. But the challenges is the lack of capacity and resources, limited availability of data, political pressure, resistance to change, and also the lack of awareness and understanding. That's it from me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nidina Koutri. I will be continuing with the strategic process of implementing OBP. So first is outcome-based planning. It is a 5-year planning at the ministry level. In this process, the outcome-based planning setting the agreed output and expected outcome in order to resolve the issues raised by the client and to fulfill stakeholders' needs. And in this process too, it has mentioned the MRF, which is Ministry's Result Framework. There is a combination of expected performance at ministries, program and activity levels. So there are 3 levels in this combination of MRF. This process also mentioned about the program implement, decides the responsibilities and resources required for activities execution by the ministries. In the book, it has mentioned the top-down and bottom-up approach for the budgeting, planning and preparation. Next, I will explain about the budget preparation. There is an issuance of TC by MOF pertaining to the guidelines of preparation of proposed estimated expenditure for the year. It's also mentioned about the specified budget preparation period and budget submission date, allocation of budget for programs and activities. APMC identifies requirement for budget allocation and 2 years approval for EU is made to allocate budget prepared and reviewed annually. At program level, PPMC meetings checked by program manager to ensure to budget allocated appropriately. And while at the ministry level, MOIC meetings are chaired by the controlling officer to validate budget application. And the next process is monitoring and evaluation process, which is the emphasis on the 4 issues of appropriateness, effectiveness, efficiency, and the economy. And there are 2 methods of evaluation in this process, which is the formative evaluation and summative evaluation. Formative evaluation is the program. All the programs are evaluated by yearly, each year. And summative is the program made evaluated at least once in 5 years. The last process is the reporting of results. After you made the possible processes, which is the 3 of above, we made the reporting of results. So this reporting of results, meaning that the ministry should submit to MOF, Ministry of Finance, through this 6 submission. First is quarterly and annual ministries performance report, quarterly and annual projected cash flow, MOIC report, quarterly and annual measure of review progress or activities report, formative assessment, and also the summative assessment. The strategic template performance agreement, which has the purpose of to show clear alignment between MRF at ministry level and NRF at national level. It is to also identify other programs inside or outside ministry, and also to give the holistic view of integrated budget preparation. So this is the list of the template, which is Ministry Executive Summaries, Program Performance Management Framework (PPML), and last is Activity Performance Management Framework (APML). I think that's all for me. Thank you.